just posted.
Okay, this title is fucking phenomenal. Okay, the level of intellect it took to come up with a title like this, very few people on this planet have. Second of all, to the women that watch this podcast, thank you for 88 people that are being here. I appreciate you. And in fact, it's not offensive to women because historically, men have had a toxic stigma against the concept of a period, even though it's one of the most natural parts of the female anatomy. So to compare the stock market with something as natural as having a period, by making a clever analogy, in my opinion, that, oh, both are red and the stock market was red today, to me, is a very intellectual title, and no one should be offended by that.
All right, guys, he's a Palantir investor, just so you understand. Just so you're clear, his biggest positions are Palantir and Hood right now. Okay? That's what you get when you listen to too many carp fucking shareholder speeches.
That was a great title.
Bro, when's the last time you let one off, bro? Because
it's a good title.
When's the last time you had your little gang moment?
I know, man.
Bro, I was watching her today. It was like 2 minutes, but I was just looking at it like, yo, it's kind of entertaining. I'm not gonna lie. It was a little entertaining. I'm not gonna lie. Thank you, Adam. I like Amit and his titles, and like that it's not the normal shit. Keep not being normal. I agree. Sometimes you got to switch it up a little bit.
Yeah, I was like, we're really going there. We're really, and I'm a part of this. We're,
what's funny is when someone saw this, like my wife thought I came up with it, because I'm usually the degenerate.
Honestly, so did I. I was like, that's a total Chris thing. He's like, yo, let's make this the title.
No, but really, how can it possibly be offensive at all? There's like,
man, talking about women and periods is always offensive. No matter.
No. Actually, what I've researched is women feel offended if men don't talk about it.
Okay, can we just do a poll? Can you just do a poll, like a 20-minute poll? Is the title? Do you find the title of today's podcast offensive? Because that's really what it's about. It's not whether it is or it isn't. It's whether people.
But if you do, you have to give at least some level of logic. Because I thought about it for a second, and I was like, wait a second. It's
people will. People will.
No, the thing is, the reason why is because periods have always been used somewhat in a derogatory way. It's like almost like if a girl comes at you like really emotionally charged about a specific topic or something that you did, and like your default is, oh, I wonder if she's on her period. It just
but that wasn't my intention. My intention was period is blood, stock market was red, red is blood, blood is red. So that's it.
I don't know, man. It's a bit of a
Ray's comment right now. Look at that. My wife
says no, but
she is annoyed because she's bleeding.
It's just crude and unnecessary. Well, the stock market going down today was also crude and unnecessary, but sometimes it has to happen.
See, like elemental P's coming back. Elemental P's coming back at you.
Whoa, it's not elemental P. It's IMNOP. Okay, we have decided we're gonna keep going with IMNOP. All right.
It's offensive because most women are hurt with a period are stigmatized by periods.
Yes, absolutely.
Most women hurt with a period are stigmatized. How so? How are you stigmatized?
No, I'm not.
I don't understand.
I don't know if stigmatized is the right word. I think you mean
it's because
but I don't know if you want to say that
it's
to a girl
stigmatized.
Saying that she's on a period.
No, it's stigmatized. I mean, if you look throughout different like cultures, right? It's actually been treated really poorly. Like in India, women who are on their periods, like back in the day, there was like a outhouse where they actually were like you had to segregate yourself from the other people around your own family. You had to segregate away. You also couldn't go to like the temple, like places of worship. If you're on your period, you couldn't go.
Okay, can I say something? Can I say something that could be really ignorant of the culture? But isn't that because the men don't want to be tempted by the women and not be able to do anything?
No.
I think it's because we treat women badly in India.
Can you believe, Vitaly? We're talking about periods.
No, it's this stupid belief that like when a girl.
Why is Chris having one right now?
But Amit, apparently.
No. So it's
Amit is having one.
Yeah.
Amit just found out about those today, actually. So he's all like excited to like.
Can you guys let Chris finish, bro? You guys cut him off every time he's trying to talk. Go ahead, finish.
What?
No,
are you guys on your period? Like, what's going on?
If we count the minutes on a podcast, so like the All in Pod, someone broke down the minutes who talks the most. Chamath. I bet you anything it's Chris.
No, I agree. But the problem is you guys cut him off when he's in the middle of talking. That's the problem. You guys got to like just wait a second. Then let him talk.
I didn't say anything.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, it's just overall, like the whole concept of period, depending on your culture, has been treated very poorly. Especially women have been treated very poorly. So you don't want to carry that forward. And so it's one of those things that like, it's when a woman is having her period, it's better to just be supportive and be like, honey, no problem. You understand. Because there's literally because my wife tells me it's like literally the walls in your vagina are like tearing themselves apart and being pushed out. Like it's a really fucked up ass thing to go through. Like we're lucky as men, we don't have to deal with it. And so anytime like the topic comes up, and especially if it's brought on by someone like a guy, it feels really like
I feel what you're
That's all.
saying, but that's only if you mean for it to be offensive. I'm trying to destigmatize the concept of a period by being a man and openly talking about it.
Or you're saying that the
Yeah, but-
walls of your portfolio have come crumbling down.
No, I literally mean when
Yeah.
you have a period, you bleed. Blood is red. The stock market was red. That was it.
Yeah, but the stock
actually
market
very
being
smart
down
of
is
them.
also, but the stock market being down is a bad thing. So having a period is a bad thing. There is
No. That's you.
Might
putting
not be
that
bad
in there.
because
That's
you-
you
it gives
doing all
you-
that.
It's,
Look,
it's
when
not always
pound share
bad.
went to 1820, I said, oh, it looks like I'm excited when I was 14. That was comparing it to a boner. So I mean,
That's
I do
true.
this both
That's
ways.
true.
It goes both ways.
You do play both sides. Okay, so how was everybody else's day?
All right, we got to talk about this. Stock market obviously sold off today. One of the worst days in the past couple of weeks. Let's start off with you, Chris. What were your thoughts on what happened in the market? What are you seeing? And yeah, how did you feel about this red day?
I mean, we kind of needed it, to be honest with you. We've just had so much bullishness that's been coming around. You know, you can't have an eternally great time, especially considering that there's still a looming recession coming our way. So sometimes you need a market correction from the overhype and over euphoria. That doesn't mean that the companies that lost today, like were down, have anything fundamentally wrong with their business. You know, some of them have just literally been putting some numbers out there that have been grounded in reality, and people don't want to accept that. You know, so if you look at like the biggest examples I could give, and especially two that affected me, are of course Tesla and TFC, which is Truist Financial. Tesla and Elon gave a pretty what you're supposed to as a business, a conservative guidance. You're not trying to like scare the market and spook them and saying, oh my God, like the world is falling apart. But you also can't lie to them and say, we are always going to do good no matter what. Keep buying our shares. You know, same thing would happen with TFC, where the CEO came out. They said, look, we're going to take some prudent actions in the short term to make sure that we have ample liquidity. We're going to make the business decisions necessary for long-term growth. But that also means that in the near term, we're going to be sacrificing some of our profits. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? That's going to depend on the eyes of the beholder, you know? So like with Tesla, you know, whenever Elon said, hey, listen, we're going to do some price cuts, you know, a lot of people took that the wrong way, saying, oh my God, it's over for Tesla. When in reality, like Elon knows that, hey, if I want to grow this business, if I want Tesla to go even further, I'm going to need to make this car and my products more available to everybody. So yes, in the short term, they're taking some hits on margin, which is perfectly acceptable. In the long term, Tesla is going to do exceptionally well because they'll be grabbing market share. So a lot of companies that took a hit today didn't necessarily deserve it.
But he also did preface that by saying that they internally as a company are not focused on the margins. And he again had a dog whistle to like the smart investors. If you're focused on the short term, if you're focused on short term margins, you're missing the story. I tweeted something at Gary Black. I'm a subscriber, so I got one of his subscriber posts today. And the first thing he was tweeting about to the subscribers was about the margins. And he's saying Tesla's selling off because they're not able to assure investors that they're going to have a good operating margins going forward. And I tweeted at him something that actually got more interaction than I would have expected. And I said, if you keep pushing this profit margin story and missing what Elon is saying, all you're going to do is shift the balance of percent ownership to retail. Like there's going to be a point where the retails are just going to keep buying these dips and own more of the stock than than the institutions. And basically, you guys will be giving us your money like you're doing with crypto. Today for me also was the first time. I was pretty proud. I'm sure you guys get hit up by some of your friends who invest as well. Today was the first time that not a single person who was down was upset.
Yeah.
Every single person that wrote me was like, yes, I got an in point. I threw $5 grand into Tesla. That buddy of mine that I was telling you about with the regional banks, I actually went to dinner with him today. We had a regional bank brunch today at Sugarfish. It was awesome. We had a lot of sushi.
Sugarfish is sushi, right?
Yeah, it is like one of the best sushi spots. And it was a branch that I've never been to before. So I went downtown and I met him for some brunch and we just started talking and he was happy. He actually, I feel like people have been in it long enough that they're starting to get it, that the pullbacks are part of it. And that's the way that you increase your positions and get the massive share count. So like
nobody's getting shit. if this continues for 2 more days. Okay.
What do you mean?
That's
Nobody's got anything. Okay.
What do you
It's
mean
the
nobody's got
same
any?
1%ers who own everything. And meaning like, yes, nobody's complaining because we're up hundreds of percent, but let this last for a week or two. We'll see how many people understand it.
Oh, we'll probably still bleed all the way through Friday. But I'm
No,
saying,
no.
like,
I mean,
people-
I don't know. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying. you
Okay, well, I don't know. I don't know
Most
the
people,
friends that you
most
have.
people
I don't know
don't. No, my friends are wishy-washy as fuck.
Right. But mine are really serious about taking their financial careers seriously. And a lot of them started around 2020, 2021. And a lot of them understand now that this is part of it. You know, to Chris's point, we ran up so much that if you don't get a pullback, then these people are stuck with their shares. That's it. That's what they're stuck with. And they actually listen to the earnings calls now, and they actually understand that guidance is just it's just a measure to guess what could happen next quarter. And they also do understand the macro environment. Like, more people now understand the Fed and the Fed's role in economics than ever before now as a result of COVID. So it's cool. It's just, I just see overall people, but my friends of like private investors are more educated now than they've ever been.
Yeah. The availability of information to retail holders is like at the highest level in human history, right? A lot of these things were being gate kept behind doors, and especially information behind normal doors for like decades, you know. So literally it was just like you had to listen to this one guy who was your investment advisor give you like, oh, a stock tip. Now you can actually go and do the research yourself. Anything that we're saying here, you guys should be taking it to heart, but then also going and saying, you know what, let me confirm this with somebody. Let me confirm this with some of the news articles. Let me go even Twitter, you know, go to Twitter and see what's going on. Look at the earnings yourself, listen to the conference calls yourself, and then like understand like, oh, I get it now. You know, you may not have the time all the time. And so you might have to limit the amount of companies that you're like doing a good amount of due diligence on, but doing some of the research yourself, you'll see that it's actually, if you're really into investing, it'll actually be something that's fun and it won't like take away from like your day job. You know?
What do you guys think was the reason for the sell-off? Like, what actually happened? Was it Tesla, Netflix that dragged the market down, or
Relieve some
anything else?
pressure.
Yeah.
I think we talked about it. Like, it's all been priced in at this point. So how much further could it go?
You mean up or down?
No, how much further can it go up? Like Tesla's up, yesterday or 2 days ago, it was up $190, basically a 3x.
But
Yeah.
when it was down at 100, we were saying it was down 100. It's like it's not relative.
I know what you're saying, but everybody bases it
value.
off the lows. Everybody, you know, on CNBC and everywhere, they look at the lows. Okay, the lows were this. We're up 3x since the lows. That's what
Right.
just people look at. So
But
if you're up 3x from the lows, my point is that you need pullbacks, you need to consolidate, and you can't just go straight up. So it was bound to go down. We talked about this for a couple
and
days.
earnings as a way of bringing a lot of companies back to reality, right? Where you're thinking, oh my God, this company is going to be X, Y, and Z, and then earnings comes out, and you're like, wait a second, you're not making as much money. Your forward guidance is not that good. Like the guidance that I was most concerned about today was actually TSMC. TSMC is the largest manufacturer of high tech chips in the world, and they're one of the only manufacturers of that. So one of the things that was really puzzling was they actually had a huge growth slowdown and actually guided for a very weak Q3 and Q4. So the rest of the year is going to be somewhat weak. So that means that global growth may actually be slowing down more than a lot of people are expecting. So I think in the semiconductor space, I know that there is a giant boost with AI chips being in so much demand. There's actually some talk of possibly being a situation where there might not be as much forward demand, and a lot of these interest rate increases are probably lending to that theory as well. So I think some of the sell-off was actually due to just concerns that we're slowing down beyond what the Fed would really want, and also with the Fed still going to hike further, which I don't think at this point the Fed should not hike anymore. They should just stop.
Not even one?
Because no, not even one. Because at this point, we're already we're already in the trajectory of things going down. You don't want to do an overcorrection and then have things go so far down that now you have to come in and rescue the market
Yeah.
by pumping in liquidity all over again and basically create a scenario where inflation could come back. So, just a wait and see approach. And you guys can already see like inflation's down to 3%, which is only 100 basis points above their target, right? The impacts of those rate hikes, they're slowly trickling into the economy, and they're actually going to be very meaningful in the next 6 months. So I think it's a good. They'll probably end up doing it.
They're definitely raising next week, at least once. They're doing at least
next week. This is what's interesting. The next Fed meeting is supposed to be the 25th or the 26th, and then 2 days later are end phases earnings. So that's going to be.
Oh, that's going to be well.
TJ might get
did you guys say it's priced in for end phase, the rate hikes already?
No.
You're saying Q3 guidance is what matters for
it's
end phase,
priced
right?
in. It's priced in. A quarter up, quarter down means nothing.
I think we're getting a rate hike, and then I think Jay Powell's going to be a little bit more dovish in terms of we'll wait to see what happens. If he's hawkish and he says we're still going with 2, and I didn't change my mind, the market's going to tank. It's absolute because we're not pricing in 2. We're pricing in 1.
I'll take the other side of that bet. I'll say that next meeting, the one that's coming up, he'll say he's a continual pause. That it's still a pause.
So he won't raise a hike.
No,
I actually agree with you. I think the pause will continue, even if he raises a quarter. I was talking more about end phase. That a quarter is not going to destroy more demand for microinverters and solar.
Yeah, but you know that's not the
but
reality.
The reality. A pause, and then people expecting next year that rates will be coming down. That will actually change the narrative pretty soon.
But you guys think he's pausing? I don't think he's pausing, bro. I do not think he's pausing at all.
I mean, this is why it's a good bet. A short term, 1 week, and we'll see what's up. But I think
he
he's
raised last time, right?
Huh?
Or did they? No, they paused.
No,
sorry, you're
they
right.
Paused.
So I think he'll pause until I don't think it's until we're in September. I think once we get into September, I don't think we're gonna see any hikes until September.
Well, what's the point, first of all, of raising right now? Besides saying that you were going to do it,
is the labor market strong?
No, but it makes sense to just but inflation is destroyed. Isn't that the whole point? That we want the labor market strong. We just want to hold on. We're trying to destroy the labor market and inflation. Okay. So the reason you destroy the labor market is to tank inflation so people can't afford to buy shit. But if that's under control, then I would say they should just wait and see what happens for another month. Like, well, there's nothing wrong with waiting another month, right?
I mean, I'm looking at, so there's 2 things that I've been tracking, especially because if there's any indicator of reacceleration of inflation, we got problems, because then the Fed is definitely going to have to take some prudent actions. And the 2 things that have been riding higher lately, let me just share my screen, is number 1, commodities. Thanks to a strong dollar, commodities have started to climb up since June. You can see here there's been a pretty decent sized move up. Also, I know some people were saying that like the Ukraine thing is priced in, but Ukraine, the Russians and the Ukrainians, they had like a wheat export deal where the Ukrainians were allowed to export out the wheat, and Ukraine is a pretty large producer of wheat. They were able to export it out without any sort of issues, and the Russians were allowing it on humanitarian grounds. And so they negotiated. So that deal was just taken off the table, and so right now that's a bit of an issue that we're dealing with. And then also, even on Truflation's data, if you look at some of the more recent indicators, like food and beverage, you can see that since June, prices on food is starting to go back up again. Something that was actually going down significantly is starting to creep back up. And it's the same thing with transportation fuels like oil. Oil prices are starting to rise higher as well because of the summer driving season, and also the reemergence of China stimulating. So if you look at
why is
oil
the bad
prices,
inflation if China stimulates?
Because that means that now you're going to have China, which is a large economy, competing for more resources, and that'll drive up commodity prices. That means that, like, instead of a deflationary trend where, there's less demand, now there's going to be more demand for goods and services, which means that now you're going to have, prices of things will go higher, right? So if right now we're trying to look at the price of oil, and the Chinese now are like in full swing, like, hey, we need to, pump the economy. they spend a shit ton of money importing oil. The price of oil goes up. That affects all of us because now the price of fuel for us goes up. The price of transportation of goods and services all around goes up. And so all those costs end up coming back to us as consumers. Now, this may just be a blip, right? And I don't think it'll impact us whatsoever, but it's just that thought in the back of people's head that, oh, inflation is coming back, that would scare people. The other one last point that I'll put up real quick is a Cleveland Nowcast. So the Cleveland Fed does like active monitoring of the current inflation. And so if you look at it on a year over year basis, when you compare, June was 3.0. July right now, according to the, sorry, that's PC. CPI was a 3 here. On a year over year basis, because of like last year's effects, are right now 3.36. Imagine right now a headline inflation rate comes out that says inflation is 3.3%. What do you think happens to the markets if that comes out? That inflation in July was higher than inflation in June. You know,
we're fucked if that happens.
Yeah. And so it's been like, and especially it's been like that all month. So it's like the 20th today, 20 days of higher forecasted inflation for the month of July. So like I said, it's just something to be very, very careful of because it's not as rosy as a lot of people would want to be. And so right now, just being somewhat conservative in terms of the market may not be a bad idea, just in case, you know.
All right, that's fair.
It does kind of feel like 2020 when the market turned and just started just rallying out of nowhere. You kind of felt like, well, I have to participate because it's running, but you were almost waiting for the one indicator that's it. It's over. Once it's, you know, it's like the music stops, the musical chairs.
And that didn't happen until 2021. It
didn't happen for a while. I mean, it happened in different sectors, different times, but I don't know about you. I still feel like that's coming. Like we are just the moment you like forget or don't think that, you know, they think that we're not going to get the recession. That's when it happens.
But see, if that does come, does Tesla go back to 100 or does Tesla go back to 190? Like, I mean, how bad do you think that?
I feel like Tesla's actually in a new channel right now, and in that channel, we actually hit the top. So we're actually hitting the top of this channel. It's hit this. It's touched this channel 3 times, and the bottom of that channel right now, from what I'm looking at, is 201. So it could drop another $100, whatever, or whatever, $60.
And I think we saw the lows. Well, look, everybody expected inflation to continue taking off. It hasn't. It's down, even if it's up a month. Honestly, I think a lot of people are just going to look beyond it. It's not going to be as bad as Chris is saying, because we're not at 10% inflation, which we were heading towards.
Real quick,
right?
Well, Vitaly's talking.
Yeah, but the problem is this Fed is so hawkish. I feel like if they get a reacceleration, they're going to double down on the rate hikes. That's the issue.
And it's more about sentiment than about reality, right? The market doesn't trade just on reality. Otherwise, we wouldn't have seen a lot of the run-ups that we've seen in the last month.
What I'm saying,
of this is sentiment.
I know what you're saying, but the bottoms have been hit. Tesla is not going to $100.
No, I agree.
Yeah,
I don't think
sub 200. I don't know that we'll see sub 200 again. To be honest,
we are. I do not think that there's any sort of existential threat to the business environment that would require such a massive drawdown that we hit earlier levels. That's definitely out of the picture, and even I can say that. But what I do want to just say is preface this with there is so much bullishness in the market. Can you share my screen, Amit, real quick? That any sort of non-performance will see a correction. That's all I'm saying.
Outsized,
right? Correction. Every indicator that you're seeing, right, in terms of like valuations being a little overstretched there. You're seeing that we're way above the 125 moving day average, or sometimes people like to use the 200-day moving average. We're way above that on the S&P 500.
How is that different from RSI? Wait, oh, there you go. Stock strength, is that the same?
No, moving average. Something else. Yeah, the moving average. You can see that 52-week highs. So many companies have started to hit their 52-week highs into this year with a looming recession. Also, not a great sign, right? The amount of volume of shares being bought and sold right now is an all-time high, which means there's huge amounts of movement and traction happening. And then this is the one that I'm. Yeah, and this is the one that I'm probably the most concerned about, which is the puts to call ratio. The number of call buying is just out of this world right now. Like everyone and the mother is just buying so many call options on things that, any sort of a pullback would see like the market pretty much get hit hard. So I'm just saying, like, volatility is okay. Yeah, and this is the other thing. Junk bonds right now are also like you're not getting that much of a yield on junk bonds compared to investment grade, which is kind of shocking as well. So like overall, we're in a very like, I don't want to call it like overbought market because that's not the right word. We're in a very confident market, and it's not going to take very much to reverse that if the right numbers don't come out. And the thing is, you don't want to chance it with something being a headline risk rather than a reality thing. And that's where if you have some cash on the side, it's great, because if things do pull back, you've got some cash to buy some stuff up. And so I told you guys earlier today, I unloaded some of my TFC earlier in the morning. I was like, you know what? I understand what the market is doing in terms of a sentiment standpoint. So I sold some of my position. Hey, I'm being
At least
I'm
you're being
with you
honest
guys.
here.
No, I'm always honest.
What's wrong with that? If you lock in the profit and you buy it back in later.
Yeah,
This guy told me it's going to 45. Okay,
it is going to go to 45.
Yeah,
it is going to 45.
You're talking about shares, not some of the options plays, right?
Yeah. And the other thing is, I still got a really good deal. I got a good amount of profit from it, and so when it does pull back, I'm assuming that it's going to pull back further, I'll be able to buy those options contracts for a much cheaper price. So.
Do you think so obviously I did not sell any of my TFC position. I'm just kind of letting it ride. I got a pretty good average on
Aren't you part of his Patreon?
I am part of his Patreon, and I saw that move this morning. But to me, I can't time it as well as Chris. I mean, Chris is actively managing his shit. I just wanted a good position for January 2025 and let that bitch ride. Do you think TFC goes below 27 where you got those options at? Because
no.
So then what is the logic between trying to get it cheaper? Because you got your options at a pretty cheap price.
Because now what's going to happen is that spread, remember, I didn't just buy straight calls.
Yes,
I bought spreads.
Correct.
If you look today, what happened to that longer side, that $45 call that I sold, it went down massively. Okay. So that means that now I can just relax a little bit, because now that took the majority of the hits going down. So if you looked at right now what our options did, our options didn't go down nearly as much.
Yeah, it was like 2% maybe.
That's the best part about having something that's a spread, that when things are down, the other side will cover your downside. And so it covered my downside. So now TFC is probably, because of the weak guidance for the next 6 months, is going to be like this, maybe a little bit higher, but pretty flat. So now when I re-enter my position, I don't have as much time on that long side of things. And so now I'll get better pricing on it too. So,
but does that mean the spread itself is going to have to decrease significantly in price for you to get a better price than the average you had, right?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, remember, the long side is also going to be decaying at the same time. The price that I had that long call, right, as the time goes further and further and it stays around the same amount, you're going to see slow decay happening naturally. So that's where what's happened is now you're sacrificing some time and literally just waiting until there's a flip of the script. And that's going to and in my opinion, that's going to happen in Q4, in which case I'll be able to buy it. And I'll probably end up doing the 2026 leaps instead of the 2025, because CBOE publishes the leap contracts, the newest ones in September. So if the market is further down, I'll be able to pick up even further leaps in September, October.
Well, that was my question. I would have assumed that what you do is redeploy and buy the spreads for the same time frame, because then you're saving premium by selling them with a shorter expiration date. Do you get what I'm saying? So you're essentially getting the same potential gain, but with less premium up front. But if you buy them at the same year, like 2 years out, you're still going to end up paying the same premium. And then you're expecting now you're betting that the price is going to be above that in two different time frames. You're not betting on one time frame now. Now you're betting on 2 years.
Right, but that's the
thing.
It's
okay to spread it out, first of all. I do that all the time. So
but Carl's point is the premium is going to be higher if you're buying 2026. That's
right. But if you want to buy them, if you want to buy like,
but it also
like for the 2025 ones, and you want to buy them now when there's less time, you're going to get a better deal. And then you're going to make all the profit if it hits that price once. Otherwise, you still have those other calls that you need. to hit at a later date as well.
But see, that's one of the things with leap contracts, right? Where you're going to have mispricing on leap contracts. The further out it is, the further mispricing you're going to end up discovering. And so if you time it, I don't want to say if you time it right, but if you get it at the right time, the furthest out options are the ones that are mispriced the most. So that's where you really have like the edge over the bookmakers and the marketeers and even the high frequency traders. So just
here's the real question. You want to buy back the spreads in a couple months, but let's say in the couple months you don't even care about TFC anymore, right? Because so there could be a world in which you just don't give a shit about it and you just
probably going to happen.
I feel like that might happen.
No, it's on my radar because the opportunity for TFC and all the other regional banks is still there. There's a tremendous amount of, and the thing is, I sold 75% of the position. I still have 25 for the
in 2 months. He's like, banks.
Position.
What are banks?
No, it's you have to just put everything into perspective. That's all. For me right now, there is an opportunity to take some money off the table, have some cash on the side waiting, so that this way I can load up on some of my other higher conviction plays. Like I bought SLG today when it was down.
Did you sell the shares too of TFC or just the options or both?
No, I just sold the shares. And I sold the shares and the options. So I don't have that many shares to begin with anyway. So, mostly options, but yeah.
Can you go to the chart? I just want to show what the S&P is doing. So in terms of S&P, I know we had a down day, but S&P is barely affected right now.
Yeah. Yep.
Hold on a sec.
That was actually very surprising. It barely moved.
Barely moved. So anyone who's thinking that we're having some massive crash, we are still pretty bullish on S&P. In fact, above the 21 day, above the 50 day, above the 200 day, in a massive trend up right now. So if there is a pullback, okay, so it's 4,400. That's what it seems to see if we confirm that we're still in some sort of a bull run that's happening. And we're getting close to all-time highs there. Is that what's happening? 48.11. I think Tom Lee's right. I think Tom Lee's right. I think at the end of the year, we are hitting all-time high or passing them.
I think he's right. I mean, I think he has a shot to be right now. If this inflation thing keeps accelerating, the market won't let it. But if we can get back down to 2.5%, but
also keep in mind they printed $8 trillion, like printed money. Like where is it going to go? It's going to go into markets. Somehow it's going to make its way into the market. So there's even more money waiting on the side.
I'm glad you brought that up. I forgot what the number of trillions sitting afraid of the market. Usually that's when the suckers come in at all-time highs. And
yeah, I mean, if we have another 10% rally, 5% rally in the S&P, there's going to be a lot of people getting ready to come in. But we've got to be able to get to that level,
Yeah.
All it takes is, NVIDIA is responsible for all of this. So all it takes is one or two good earnings from one of those 7 companies, and I think we'll be doing.
When does NVIDIA report? Because if they fuck up their earnings, bro, everything's going down.
That's a good question.
NVIDIA.
That's a good question.
So I just want to point out there are natural pullbacks that happen when the market overextends. So at this point, we don't have any other information that it is just that. Let's find out. If we go below 4,400, that's when we know it's something more serious. But until then, I am not that afraid.
But also, it's like
I wasn't going to sell anyway under 4,400 anyway, so it doesn't even matter. It's not like I'm trying to rush out of all my Tesla and all my Enphase. Get rid of it. Get rid of it.
I feel like sometimes we're looking for reasons outside of the obvious. It was just bad earnings, for TFC. If they gave bad guidance, then the stock market's going to react accordingly. For Tesla, it was the same thing. For Netflix, they had one day they missed on one line revenue. When last quarter it was all about subscriber numbers, right? That's all they cared about. This year, this quarter, they didn't give a shit about subscriber numbers. Like these guys.
Right. They're like, we're happy you got more subscriber numbers. We don't care.
Yeah. And actually that was one thing when Gary.
Well, you know why they don't care, right? Because they got all these subscribers. Like the ARPU on these subscribers is coming from a bunch of UPUs. Like they're getting all these Indian motherfuckers to buy Netflix for $2, and there's no ARPU on the UPUs who are buying it, so there's no revenue. That was a good joke. That was better than the title. How are you guys not?
Someone's got to. I mean, does anyone
should change the title? Yeah,
I said that on the morning stream today, and everyone was laughing. But I tested the joke. I went to the club. I tested the comedy.
Hey, listen, I got it. The Simpsons. All right, I got it.
No, but basically, there's low. It's like the Spotify issue, right? They're getting people from Asia and South Korea, and like they're not charging $10 a month, $15 a month. They're charging $1 a month. So there's no revenue. So you got all these subscribers, but there's no. So the market's like, what the fuck? There's no revenue.
Didn't I read that they're changing their model again? They're stopping the ad part, or they're trying
they're
to.
not stopping it. They're not stopping it. It's just not growing as fast as they thought it would. But
Okay.
it's not stopping.
Because we have money now.
Someone gave me a 6 out of 10. Chris, go ahead. You were gonna talk.
6 out of 10.
No. I'm just watching the comments. Like, this is one of the sad. This is probably one of the things that I kind of hate about the market. And sometimes retail traders, they think that, there's nothing that's smarter than just buying and holding forever, right? That's like the genre of thinking it's something that's really bad, because that is how you actually end up becoming a bag holder, and you hold on to a position for a very long period of time, and you're just constant believing in it. And it's this dream, this belief that everything is going to go back up again, that you miss out on so many good opportunities because you're too focused on that one company that you made a bet on. And also you're trying not to like think about it from a thesis point of view. TFC, in terms of long term, I still think is a very undervalued company. I think it's still going to do very well. But the short-term guidance that they have and the moves that the management is making is not built for a higher performance. And because of that, they're going to be relatively flat for the next 6 months. That is the thesis that I have, and that's what I'm applying to my investing logic. Mm-hmm. So right now, it may not seem smart. I know some people right now, Chris is just No.
Okay, so nobody should shit on you. I just want to point this out.
Except for Vitali.
Except me. Garcia. Garcia, you called it.
Every day. Every day. It's the same way.
Hold on. No, I do want to say this. It's not about that. It's not about the fact that I sold some Enovix because it's okay to take some profit off the top. But the problem is you say things like SoFi is going to 100 billion. You say things like TFC is going to 45. I'm going to hold it till then. You say these things. And then you don't actually follow through. I think that is the problem I have. If you just say, dude, I'm a trader. I see an opportunity. I'm going to make a call and I'm going to sell this motherfucker as soon as I get my 20% up. If you said that, I would have no issue. But you don't say that.
It's hard to say that without knowing the future. Like, I'm not some kind of guru that knows exactly what everything is going to happen.
That's your personality.
And it's easier to figure out what's going to happen 5 years from now than it is to figure out what's going to happen 5-10 minutes based on some random event that could happen. Like, who would have guessed that inflation was just going to randomly pop up on us? Who would have thought deflationary trends right now, where people thought we are never going to get to 2.2% by the end of 2023, is that going to happen? 3 months, not even 3 months ago, 30 days ago, people were under the assumption that we were going to have, what is that they call 2 rate cuts by the end of this year. Now, all of a sudden, it's like the moods change. This is how the market is. Things change. And some people, this is not for everyone. Trust me, this is definitely not for everyone. And and someone said, I'm a fucking merc. All right, I go where the opportunity is. I don't really give a shit about trying to just sit on one thing. If I see opportunity, I go with it. And it's worked for me in the long run.
And I agree with you on that. I agree with you with that, but then don't say the other thing. Don't say you're going to be.
Which is what?
I think you're reading a contradiction where there is no contradiction. If I say that I'm going to be, or if Chris says he's going to be in TFC for, whatever, till it reaches $45, there's a lot of plays that happen within that. Mm-hmm. It's not just buying it and holding it till it's 45. That's not what it is. It's about buying it, reading the market. If it gets overvalued, you sell some, you pick up some more later, readjust your options contract. You're making a play on a stock that's going to go from 30 to 45. There's a
no. You're missing it, Carlos, because there's no conviction in it. Because me and you do have some actual serious conviction. We've been holding Tesla, Enphase, Bitcoin, Ethereum for at this point, almost a decade for Bitcoin.
Yeah, but it's different because
4 years for Enphase.
Yeah, but it's different because Tesla is
my point is it's okay to take profits off the top, but then it's just there's a way to put it. There's a way to put it that is a little bit more clear what's going to happen.
Okay, Tesla is a fundamentally different business and a business cycle than something like TFC. It's not a transformative company. Like Tesla is. It's not a generational company.
If the thesis is, by the way, I'm still holding the spreads, by the way. So
no,
me too. I'm holding.
And me too. Here's the thing. And
just FYI, I'm holding the TFC spreads.
If me and Vitaly are bag holders, then we'll be bag holders.
Bag holders.
I'm not playing.
I should have subscribed to the Patreon. That was my problem.
I'm playing that stock. I'm playing that stock one way, right? I'm playing the stock one way on the spreads, and that's it. But if Innovix were to run up to $40 tomorrow,
I would
as much
sell
as
it.
I
I've said
as
it,
much as it was
but
not,
I've
here's the
said it
thing,
a million
as
times.
much as it was not part of my plan
Yeah.
to sell it, because if it got there organically, I would hold it, right? If it started to accumulate its market cap organically, or
Organically, straight to $40.
I'm saying if it did organically, quarter over quarter, I
Okay.
would be like, okay, we hold
So
it. It's building.
Chris
But if it
said the same
didn't-
thing a couple of times. These things don't work that way. These
What
are
doesn't
growth
work that way?
companies. They do not organically go up 1%, 2%, 5% a year. That's not how it works. They go up 100%, they drop 50%. They go up 75%, they drop 40%. There is no organic growing of anything for these growth stocks at all. 0%. Doesn't happen. Has not happened to Enphase. Has not happened to Tesla. Anything we care about, Bitcoin, Ethereum, does not work that way. So I don't know why you say that.
Now, one thing I do want to just quickly say, TFC is long term is going to do exceptionally well. So if anyone's bought the stock and even the options, you guys are fine. Do not use my
follow
way
me
of
into
doing
this
things.
exit.
Don't follow me into this unless you do your own research, unless you agree with me and say, you know what, maybe let me reevaluate what this guy is saying. Okay. Because everyone has a different strategy that they're applying. Like I said, TFC long term is going to do well. SoFi long term is going to do well. There's no bag holders, in my opinion, with this. Okay. But you may see a drawdown a little bit. You may see other opportunities that come your way and wish that you had some extra cash to plow it into another company, but you don't have it because now you're sitting on some, downside in TFC in the short term. If you guys are really long term, fuck Chris. Who gives a shit what he says? All right. That's what you guys should have. That's all.
Yeah, but it's also like you call out Chris for seeming contradictions, but you pushed back really hard when I called you out on your contradiction of trashing Amit for free speech and then buying Meta and touting Zuck as like the greatest thing on
going
earth.
back into
that's
true.
That's a whole different conversation.
But it's true.
I'm not even getting into it. The guy who's on Instagram every day. Ridiculous.
I'm not
even getting into this.
I'm not on Instagram.
Speaking of big tech,
Boy.
let's transition to this topic. David, do you think it could make sense for Google to break up into 4 separate companies? Google, YouTube, Google Cloud, and Waymo. Thank you for the super chat. That's an interesting one.
Where was this?
Where was this again? Do you
was this
think
prompted
it makes
by
sense for Google to break into
David super chatted this.
Is this your own thinking, David?
Yeah, I've heard Amazon AWS split. I've never heard the Google.
I actually think that the markets would benefit to break up some of these like massive tech companies that have like fundamentally different businesses, right? Like it'd be great to be able to just invest in YouTube, wouldn't it?
YouTube would be a $500 billion company.
It would be great to just be able to invest in YouTube, and also the Google Cloud and Waymo thing. That'd be a great thing to have as a separate bet. You would probably play each of them differently, right?
Yeah.
This is usually a good thing, by the way, when companies are broken up. Okay, even when the baby bells were broken up, look how much wealth was created with all of these companies that happened from AT&T being broken up, right? So and from Standard Oil. So I think there's a lot of wealth to be made if big tech is eventually broken up, that we would own 4 companies instead of 1, and then they would go off and do wonderful things as well. So I think there is a positivity there, but I don't know if it'll ever happen in my lifetime.
Well, there's people that only want to invest in one industry, and they don't feel like the other 3 plays are worth it for them, right? So they might not invest. But if YouTube was its own thing, that might get its own group of investors. Can you pull up what I've got on?
YouTube. What is that worth alone? I forgot what it's being.
So YouTube is $30 billion in revenue. You put a 10x, 20x multiple on that?
Yeah,
maybe?
yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, that's a lot. 300 billion, 600 billion. It's
200 billion. YouTube 500 billion. I mean, you could.
And Google's 1.5 trillion, so it's almost half of that if you separate it by itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what are the margins on YouTube? What are the margins on YouTube? Because I mean, you have a ton of content. The problem is Google search is almost like 99% free cash flow margin, right? Versus YouTube, where you're paying content creators, you're paying all this other stuff. So the question is, from a margin perspective, what is it? Yes, revenue is great, but if the revenue, if let's say 95% of the total cost of running YouTube is getting eaten out by what is that thing called? By server costs of handling all this video streaming traffic and then paying content creators, then what's really left? Because from what I heard,
YouTube might be a loss leader for Google search, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like YouTube.
So just keep that in mind,
Did you guys see this today?
I did see this today.
Sergey Brin taking a more active AI role at Google. I'll just read a little bit of it. It emerged at the start of the year that co-founders Larry Page and Sergey Brin were involved in planning Google's AI strategy. A new report today details how active Brin has been recently. According to the Wall Street Journal, Sergey Brin has been visiting the tech giant's Mountain View, California offices in recent months, generally 3 to 4 times a week. The co-founder, who is officially just a board member and Alphabet's second largest individual shareholder behind Page, is specifically working with researchers developing Gemini, Google's DeepMind next generation foundation model. I could read more of it, but I think that's the headline.
So why do you think he's coming back?
That could be. I could see that as both good or bad. I mean, he's one of the largest shareholders, so he obviously wants to see it succeed. But if he feels like it's not being done right, it's kind of like, why does TJ Rogers come off the board to start running shit at Enphase or Enovix? Because he's like, guys, get the fuck out of the way. This is my money here. So
he picked the wrong Indian to run the company. That's what happened.
Right? He's like, this guy's got to go. We got to get. What's your last name?
You mean the guy that grew Google from what 200 billion to fucking 1.5 billion, and now all of a sudden it's like a few quarters that things don't go your way. So, oh my God, let's throw out the Indian and bring on another one.
Well, okay. Do you see this as bullish?
Is there an Adela in the room? Is there an Adela? Raise your hands.
I think Google has just been very cautious with how they approach things. And it's not necessarily just Sundar Pichai is that the only reason why that happened, right? I think a lot of times we look at the head guy and we're like, you know what? It's your fault for not fucking bringing AI into this world 5 years sooner than OpenAI did and put the thing out there. Like, people really want to take a shot at Google, but Google's been doing this research for the last 5-6 years already. They acquired DeepMind. They have their own TPUs that go toe to toe with NVIDIA's GPUs right now. That's a big business segment that could be coming up for them. You know, their advertising business has been nonstop growing like crazy. They have a cloud division that's growing double digits right now, where everyone else is retracing. This is fundamentally a very strong company that a lot of people are not giving it a lot of credit. And then they're thinking that Microsoft is somehow going to be an existential threat to their core business. That is the whole thesis behind why Google is not doing nearly as well as the other companies are. So I'll reserve my judgments on how Sundar Pichai has been as a CEO, because remember, Larry and Sergey are actually the ones that put him in charge. And Sundar actually knows what he's doing. The only problem is Google's culture has been somewhat, I don't know, infiltrated by a lot of activists. And so a lot of times where you could make prudent business decisions have always been tinged by outside influence rather than what's actually necessary for the business to grow. So I don't, the internal politics around Google, I'm not sure, but they still have a lot of brilliant people that work there. So
yeah, by the way, I still think Google is probably one of the better bets in the market still today. So if anyone was going to DCA into something, it would, I think, just Google. Well, they have not gone up. They're still 40% down. I don't know, something like that. 30%.
And them and Amazon haven't seen the boost that some of the big seven. So they're
these two tech companies are consolidating, and I really think there's some massive bull run coming for both Amazon and Google. And Sundar has done a good job, but I think didn't we talk about this, that the board is a problem? He couldn't do anything because the board was a bunch of basically jackasses keeping him tied from doing anything that he wants.
Even when he was just working at Google, and Eric Schmidt, who was the CEO at the time, you know, one of the things that basically Eric Schmidt told these guys was like, don't do Google, like, don't do a browser. Like, just told out everyone, don't do a browser. And Sundar Pichai actually went behind his back and actually created Google Chrome. And Chrome was one of their biggest success stories after the fact. But the thing is, sometimes you have management at the upper levels that are like, no, you can't do this and you can't do that, and that's not going to work. And we need to be sensitive to this. You know, there are always going to be people who are forward thinkers, but then there's other people in the culture that says no. So a lot of people in Google's culture said, you know what? AGI could be a dangerous thing. AI could end up ruining people. So to be on the safe side, let's not develop AI that much further. I've heard that these guys had demos like what OpenAI is doing right now. They've had demos like that 5 years ago. Not like a last year. They had this shit ready 5 years ago, but the decision at the time was to just back off from it, not do further development into it. So they didn't exactly apply a lot of
was that when that one AI, the Google AI, said it became self-aware? That was around then.
That was
That was
that's
like
when the
2019,
engineers
yeah.
came out.
Yeah,
Well,
that
even
was around
further.
then, yeah.
So there was a paper Google released. We talked about this, the Transformer paper that everybody's using now for ChatGPT, etc. If they didn't release that, there would be no OpenAI. Okay, there would be no
Absolutely.
ChatGPT. So it's so funny that Google basically kept it in the closet when they gave it away, and then OpenAI took it and ran with the ball.
So just to put a button on the article and just reading a little bit more, this is what he's actually doing there. According to what this article is saying, Gemini is created from the ground up to be a multimodal, highly efficient AT tool and API integrations and built to enable future iterations like memory and planning. Meant to counter OpenAI's GPT-4, it's still in training, with the Wall Street Journal reporting that it'll be available later this year. Like the Palm 2, Google plans to make it available at various sizes and capabilities. Going down a little further, it says that most of what he's doing is discussing technical matters, convening weekly meetings, internal discussions of new AI research, and appearing at research gatherings and intervening in personal matters such as the hiring of sought-after researchers. So seems like he wants to just make sure he's got the right people in place to take this thing where it's got to go.
Zocold, thank you for the
Dude.
$20 super chat. You don't got to do that, Zocold, because you're a
I know.
moderator. So
Yeah.
that's really nice, man.
You want to
Thank
read it?
for that.
Well,
We're supposed
would
to
you
read
He didn't say anything. He just
Blank. He was just like, I want a moment of silence. He's like, just shut up for a minute.
No, he had another one. That was the second one, dude.
Oh, we had a no.
There
No,
was
we had
another
the
one.
Google
Star
one.
chats. Go to the star chats. Oh no, that was his only one.
Yeah.
Eddie
Oh,
Blaze
that's
said
what
Palantir bought 6 million shares of RBT, and it's been
Yeah,
rocking.
RBT is very interesting. I don't think they bought 6 million shares. They had to barter. RBT couldn't pay for their services.
Are you getting someone on? You put the link
Yeah,
in the
this is
chat?
around the time if anybody's going to come on.
And I think you guys were discussing thanking all of the moderators for actually helping control the chat. Weren't you talking about that?
Yeah, Johnny was cracking the whip a little bit today. Yeah, and the guys have been doing a really good job lately. A really good job of getting the
Thanks, guys. Thanks,
getting
mods.
the word out, getting the subscriptions out. We really appreciate
We have
it.
Johnny, we have Zocold, and who else do we have as
And we have
moderator?
Wong. He's not
Is
here.
Midwest? Oh, Wong.
And Wong.
Yeah.
I already told them in the morning I'm going to send them some gift cards, so they know they're going to get a little.
Yeah, that's
Oh, now everyone's going to want to be a mod. We're going to have 7,500
$5 gift
cards
cards coming your way.
I'm going to send each of them a true spread.
My gear is bigger than yours.
Yo, see, if you believed in Bitcoin and Ethereum, you could just send them some ETH and be done with it. You know,
There we go. That's what I could do.
you can actually transfer
I
wealth.
can't wait for Vitaly and I to do like the proper presentation on Bitcoin. Probably in September. I think that's when we should do
Oh,
it.
so we got to do that. And Chris was also saying we need to have a weekly segment on dividends because a lot of the audience has just been asking
Oh,
for like
yeah.
dividend plays, dividend stocks. So maybe starting next. Oh, by the way, next week, are we officially doing 7 p.m. next week Eastern?
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's a good thing. I
That's
got
next week?
my schedule. And the earliest that I would go in is at 7. So I would have to leave here say by 6. So I could technically do 5, but 4 is probably better for me. Also the days that I pick up my daughter. So yeah, 4 Pacific time. That would be 7 o'clock Eastern time. And let's see if that actually gets us some more viewers. I mean, I can't believe we have 575 people here and we had like 600 people the other day. It's crazy.
Yeah. So we'll be doing 7 p.m. starting next week. Real quick again about RBT. I think Palantir inherited those shares because RBT couldn't pay for some of their services. Rubicon. I don't think they actually bought it. I'm not sure why it went up 60% in the past couple of days. I actually have no idea, so I got to look into that. Okay, so link is in the chat. If you want to join to ask a question, you can join. Until then,
Zocold, you're getting a card whether you want it or not.
Yeah, dude. What are you
you
doing?
guys are gonna get cards. Like, I know you guys are swimming in money, but still, you're gonna get some cards.
You're getting a $20 card. That's a refund on your.
No, Brian Burns, 4 p.m. Pacific time. Yes, 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern time.
Okay, this Fed Now stuff. What does it have to do with PayPal? Chris, can you explain this to us? What's going on here?
Pull up the article.
Okay, so Fed Now is a platform that's developed by the Federal Reserve. I don't know if it's 100% modeled after what's happened in India, but it's basically instant payments, right? So basically when you have your regular banks and then you have the Federal Reserve, which sits on top of the regular banks. What happens is when you do Fed Now, it's automatic clearing. So basically it does right away, like money actually gets transferred from one member bank to the other member bank instantaneously with the Fed sitting in the middle of it. So there's no more like 3-day clearance. This could be a game changer for guys like you guys, like who are freelancers. because basically now when you issue like a check or you issue a payment, it's usually 3 or 4 days before it gets cleared and then it drops into your account.
Yeah.
Right now, a payment because of this can be something that's instant. Let me load up the video that explains it because it'll do a much better job. But what do you guys think about it, since you're likely you guys are likely the guys who will benefit the most, because literally you'll have payments drop into your account right away, no more waiting for
you think our payments are delayed because of a Fed Now or something? No. Payments are delayed because we usually work on a net 30 or a net 60. So that means we don't get paid for 30 days or 60 days, sometimes 90 days. It's crazy.
There are some companies that have pushed it up to net 90.
It has nothing to do with Fed Now. That's not going to help.
No. Let me explain. Let me go back. Hold on. I'm saying that when you guys get issued a check and you go to deposit into a bank, right? Or you get an ACH payment, it's usually 3 days after that. And I'm not talking about, what do you mean? No,
okay, whatever. Because at least in my bank, I have a high enough balance that they give me the credit the next day.
Right.
So I get the credit the next day too, and I don't have.
Even if it didn't clear, I've developed that rapport with my bank that they'll see whatever the check comes in, they'll just say it's zero until it clears midnight. Then after midnight, it's in my account. Obviously, if something happens, they're going to reverse that, pull the money out, and hit you with a fee. But they've seen enough checks come in where they're like, yeah, it'll clear.
No, but this is good because look, we need the government itself to function how people function in the real world now. The reason we all use Venmo and PayPal and all these services, even Zelle, is because we want instant transfers of money, right? And that's a big thing for crypto too. We want instant transfers across the world for money. So I'm not sure if Fed Now applies to paying anybody anywhere, probably just the United States. So I'm not sure it's a direct comparison to crypto, but you could see it competing if people can actually pay instantaneously using just another product. So
that's bad for PayPal?
I think PayPal is going to do fine. I think this is back to my thesis of like, what is the actual moat of these companies, right? If it's so easy to, especially the government comes in and makes up. But I think it's just another layer. They're going to use Fed Now. They're going to use PayPal. They're going to use Square. They're just going to use the top 5 things. And that's what's
okay. But here's my question. Is this Fed Now thing?
Real quick before you ask the question, thank you, Sirius, for the $5 super chat.
You just want silence. What is the interface to this Fed Now platform?
Can we get an article? Crappy UI,
it is. It's banks though. No, so this is between banks and not between people, by the way. So banks are going to, but then Wells Fargo and JPM will implement something in their app, supposedly. So this is a long process. This is not going to happen anytime soon. So
Zelle's so easy too. Why would I not use that?
No, Zelle is shit. I've covered it. Okay, if I want to pay anybody more than $500 or $1,000, they put me in a waiting hold, and then if I try to pay them again more than the $500, then I have them on a 30-day maximize. I've maximized everything. Okay.
Yeah, but that's only for a new.
Maybe that's for you, bro. I was sending my sister 3,500.
That's only for a new person.
Well, I think when you add a new person. So when I add a new contractor, a new person, yes. But that's a problem. There's always a new person I'm adding.
Yeah, but Vitaly, the flip side of that is they're protecting you from someone getting your phone and sending themselves $10,000.
I get it.
Go through.
I get the protection
for that.
Yeah, but then I just go right back to PayPal or Venmo where I can just send whatever I want. Basically, I mean, there's a limit too, but it's much higher limits.
And PayPal will provide some insurance on that.
So that's the issue. So if Fed Now is basically going to be the same thing as Zelle, what's the difference? They need to fix that.
Yeah, I agree.
So let's watch this video real quick, and then we can discuss.
Demonetized. Here we go.
Service is an instant payments infrastructure that financial institutions can use to clear and settle payments instantly, either on their own or with the help of service providers. Financial institutions provide their own access interface to their customers, such as a mobile app or online banking portal. The FedNow service operates between financial institutions, ensuring transactions are settled securely and instantly. In this simulation, we'll look at how one financial institution, ABC Bank, is enabling customer access to instant payments. Kevin, an ABC Bank customer and small business owner, wants to send a just-in-time payment to his supplier using ABC Bank's instant payment portal. First, he keys in the amount of the payment, $1,000. Then, he selects which account he would like to have debited for the transaction, for instance, his checking or savings account. Next, he indicates where the payment is going by entering the routing and account number provided by his supplier. This information allows the FedNow service to route the payment message to the correct financial institution and customer account. Financial institutions that participate in the FedNow service determine what additional information end users can provide, along with the payment. Kevin sends the payment. Within seconds, ABC Bank sends a notification to Kevin informing him that the payment was successful. This step is optional for ABC Bank. What just happened behind the scenes? The FedNow service settled the payment between Kevin's financial institution and the supplier's financial institution in real time. Here's how it worked. As soon as Kevin initiated the payment, his financial institution sent the payment message in ISO 20022 format to the FedNow service, which confirmed the message met specifications. Next, the FedNow service sent the payment message to the supplier's financial institution, which replied by confirming it intended to accept the funds. This reply is meant to reduce misdirected payments. At that point, the FedNow service debited the Federal Reserve Bank master account of Kevin's financial institution and credited the Federal Reserve Bank master account of the supplier's financial institution. The FedNow service then provided a confirmation of settlement to both institutions. Next, the supplier's institution made the funds available to the supplier immediately and chose to notify the supplier that it posted funds to the supplier's bank account. At the same time, ABC Bank chose to notify Kevin that his company's payment was settled. There are so many ways customers can use instant payments. Businesses, for example, can use them to buy inventory or for their payroll. Consumers can make major purchases, such as buying a car, or use instant payments for everyday transactions,
I think good,
like
right,
paying
Chris?
a restaurant tab or utility.
That was
This is
plenty.
so boring, bro. Like, I really don't give a fuck
Well,
anymore about
This
this.
is a 30-second video.
Well, the issue once again is this simple for people to use, or do I need an account number, or are the banks going to make it where I can
So-
just use someone's name?
So
someone's number.
So right now, it's going to depend on the it's going to depend on, what is that thing called, like the
That
member
was my
bank
fault.
and how they do stuff. So as an example, this could be something that even PayPal and Venmo and all the other payment processors that integrate into their operating structure, so that when, let's say, you go to like a merchant, right? Like if you go anywhere in Asia, the way that they do have their payments, there's literally just like a QR code. You scan it, it opens up the app, you just hit pay, whatever the amount is, and it automatically, the money leaves your account, hits their account right away, and then you're good to go. Like right now, people may not be 100% with that, because if you try to send them money and then you could pull the money back and all this other shit that can happen. This is like instantaneous. So I think that this could be something that ends up boosting PayPal, but there are a lot of people that are saying, based on what I'm reading, that this will actually destroy one of PayPal's core businesses. I don't think it will. I don't think
so.
but-
In fact, I don't know if
yeah.
you ever heard of Ripple. I invested in them shit, and a long time ago. And their whole thing is obviously also between countries, and so banks, other banks in other countries. So FedNow might not do that, but at least in the United States, it seems like something like Ripple would be useless if this actually does work out. Instant payments, basically. That's
they-
Ripple's
they-
whole business.
Right, but they didn't say anything about international there. They just
So
said
right, if it's not international,
if
then
it's
This is-
Ripple,
international, then it's just another.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is it
XRP
just
is
says
junk.
it just says member banks. So I don't know, maybe there's like other banks that are outside banks that operate in the US that have master accounts within the US. Like let's say Bank of Santander, right? I think that's like a Spanish bank. If
Mhm.
they have like an agreement here in the US and you have an account with them, then yeah, you'd probably be able to use a system like this. So I don't know what the exact total thing, how this impacts everything, but in terms of like revenue, like right now, imagine me sending you guys a 20, I don't know, like a
Why don't we imagine a Mint
$1,000.
sending us some of the super chat money? Why don't we just pretend like
Yeah.
that
Oh
a
yeah, I
Mint
thought they
now
were getting
sending some of the fucking super chat? He's like, it's so difficult. It's so hard to send you this 3-5 days. I'll send
You guys,
Amazon gift cards.
you're fucking lying, because I've said for the longest, let's do it. And you guys are the ones that are like,
no.
"It's not
Well,
enough
Chris
money."
already
I
covered
believe
it.
him.
We covered this. We
The
expect checks.
question that I'm trying to understand here is
Checks,
that
not
how much
Venmo,
money
checks.
how much money is actually being made by PayPal and Cash App via that whole instant transfer thing that you guys know I'm talking
Oh,
about,
yeah,
where
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like you want to take money
100%.
out of the account,
Yeah,
huh?
it's like even Bill.com does that. They have the money there, and they're like, if you
Yeah.
want it instantly, like to your debit
Do
card.
any of you ever select instant?
No.
No,
right?
but they
People
try to
don't do that
trick you.
quickly.
They
On
try to trick you
principle.
sometimes. And Coinbase is notorious. If you go to Coinbase and try to transfer money out, the first thing it says is instant. You have to change it out of instant. It's pretty
Yeah.
messed up.
Yeah, like you never need it that
Mm.
quickly, Or I don't think
What,
you
what
do.
they're
No, but
doing
even
is
if
the
you
equivalent
do,
of a. It becomes like it's the equivalent of a check cashing place.
Yeah,
You know how they take like a 1% fee.
And this is actually something that's been utilized in India for like since 2016. If you want to pull up Gail Thomas's comment, it's actually UPI is what the original standard was, and India is actually a market leader in this, and they've actually done a phenomenal job. Everyone in India uses their product like this with their member banks attached to it, and it's actually something that's so popular they're actually being utilized in other parts of the world now.
Mm.
So it's kind of cool to see like India being is because if you think about it, India's got a fucking billion people. So if you can make a
Right,
product that
it'll
works for a billion people,
There's a startup called Paytm. You might know it, Chris. That's one of the.
yeah, I do.
Yeah, it's like people
Yeah.
like on rickshaws.
Well, what about China with WeChat? They made
yeah,
it work.
China's WeChat. Yeah.
I mean, everything should be a
Mhm.
QR code. It should be so simple, but yeah.
That's
All right,
some, that's
last
some
thing
of the
for
stuff I've
today.
been hearing on Twitter is that the X app will be able to handle some of that. Oh, you have a last thing for today? Because I had a last thing for today too.
Okay, well, I just had a
Garcia
super chat.
had a
Brian
super
Burns,
chat.
Thank you for the super chat, and then this question, and then you can do your last thing. Thoughts on the dollar milkshake theory? If the Fed increases rates again, foreign countries will be pressured to print more currency to match the dollar.
Dollar.
I don't know if that's going to stop
I
the
haven't
Fed.
heard
from
of that as
raising
a theory, but I don't know. I mean, it actually doesn't make sense for them to print it, because if they don't print, then their currency should get stronger against the dollar because the dollar's diluted. I'm just thinking.
Okay,
like,
that's a good answer, and we get another super chat. You guys get none of this.
Canada would use e-transfers.
We'll never see any of this, people.
In Canada, we
would
use e-transfers, which is an instant
we
Canadian
could have been
funds
getting this on the new
transfer.
channel if you guys hadn't fucking done that Apple shit. So to be honest,
Yes, I know.
in Canada, we use e-transfers, which is an instant Canadian fund transfer service between personal business accounts and participating Canadian banks and other financial institutions. Damn, payments is competitive, bro. Now I know why PayPal fell. Payments is competitive. Like PayPal.
Well, money-
Are you
money-
starting to
well,
see what's the moat? Are you starting to see this?
The real
Yeah,
money,
like-
the real value in money is when it moves. When it's sitting in an account, nobody's making. You know what I mean? Like, it's got to move, and people just want to take. People want to be.
Well, no. So
I
that's
like when it moves
the other.
into my account.
That's the other thing too, right? When you have dead money sitting in your account not doing anything, that's where the banks make money. If you look at like any banks, when they report, they'll say non-interest bearing, balances. That means that's just money sitting
Holy
in the
crap.
account. That's not.
I figured
doing
out why they
anything.
don't want people to invest now. Because if you just have your money in the bank, the
They
banks
invest it.
can invest it. If you're
Yeah.
investing your money, the
Dude,
banks.
So what
can't-
did you
someone-
think? How did you
someone
think
blew
that
my
they made
mind.
money? You think that they
Yeah.
just magically like operated
So the
without any?
banks are in cahoots with the schools to make sure we never get financially literate. Because if we invest in Tesla, they can't invest our money in Tesla.
Somebody
Yeah,
blew my mind once where they said
You
the
should read The
interest that
Creature of
they-
Jekyll Island. It's basically that.
Like I was saying, someone blew my mind once when they told me the interest that because I was like, where does the money come to pay me my whatever percent on my savings account? They're like, that's the interest that they're charging people when they sell,
Lend it
when
out.
they give them loans. So they charge people to lend them money, and then that's where they get the money to give you. And I was like, oh my God, never get a loan. Like never get a loan and never get anything. Like
It's even
interest
worse
is
than that. When you
the
take a
people
but
up
loan,
there are paying you.
No, but-
it's even
but the
worse than that. When you come in, hold on. When you come in and you
Yeah.
get a loan for something, right? Whatever, you're buying a car and you need $50,000. That money is created out of thin air
Yeah.
because you signed a loan that created that money, and
Mhm.
that bank starts to make interest on that. They never had it sitting in the account. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
it's
True.
it's absolutely
Fractional
insane.
reserve banking.
Here,
baby.
play this. I mean, I posted this last night, private chat. It's directly related to what you just said.
Okay. By the way, who's Kurt Cobain?
Shut up.
I
Stop it.
was waiting.
Stop.
I don't know.
Oh,
bullshit.
Jesus Christ.
They don't want us to learn about money because they just want to pump out good employees that do what they're told. I mean, if you look at school, it's opposite of what it takes to be successful in real life. Don't make a mistake. Do as you're told. Take tests by yourself. Don't cooperate. Do it by yourself. Do it on your own. And the last thing was, there's only one right answer. No, there's tons of answers to a problem. So you come out of school scared to death of making a mistake. You do everything on your own. You don't cooperate. There's no synergy. There's no brainstorming. And there's only one right answer. Everybody wants to get the right answer. There's no one right answer. So I think people come out of school paralyzed. I think the school system is criminal in that it kills a child's spirit. School system.
Anyway, it's related to what you just said. It's true.
And who is
But
this
that's
lady?
wanna-
Who's this lady we're listening to?
We know the right answer for her was Botox. That's what the fuck she learned in school. That's definitely.
And then my last thing.
So, is anyone coming on? It's already 11:07.
I don't know. One's on.
I gotta go.
Wow.
So-
nobody wants.
so-
to-
She was speaking facts. She was speaking absolute facts.
I don't know if you guys know this, but if you guys go back into history, do you guys know that charging interest, according to Christians and I think Islam, and even some parts of Judaism, it's actually illegal to charge interest to people, right? Except Jewish people, according to their beliefs, and maybe Vital, you can correct me, it's okay to lend to other people and charge interest, but not to fellow Jewish people. And so a lot of times in Europe, they used to hire the Jews to do all the banking. So basically they wanted to have the benefits of transactional value of interest banking, but they didn't want to do it because it was against their belief system. So they would hire out the Jews. And what's fucked up about the whole situation is the Jews would do it very well. They do a great job of it. And then eventually the medieval kings would end up getting into so much debt that they would be like, oh, fuck this. Now let's go and, get rid of the Jews and basically like shame them and murder them. And it's fucked up. But that's how the system was for like thousands of years.
I don't know about
I
that,
don't-
but the reason the Jews are notorious for banking is because they weren't allowed to own land in a lot of parts. They weren't allowed to run businesses, so they started lending money because the Jews find a way.
Yeah.
I had that
like
whole
you guys
Shit
heard
about that. So
what do you call it? Merchant of Venice. It's about that whole thing. Like remember, Shylock was what? Shylock was Jewish, And so like they really, if you think about the Merchant of Venice, it was a very like anti-Semitic story, but say la vie.
That's how
So
you grew up.
for me, the last thing I was going to say, since Vitaly wasn't here for the Tesla earnings, any thoughts on Tesla earnings? I know you had a chance to digest. I don't know if you were because you were busy.
I haven't listened to all of it, but I heard that net was 10%, so nobody's happy with that. They blew out the quarter again. That was great. But I mean, like, once again, I see that what's going on Twitter. People are basically saying, oh, it's a car company and the gross margin is dropping, the net margin. It's like, it's not worth $1 trillion because it's a car company, because then it's overvalued. It's obvious, right? It shouldn't be worth that much. It has to be worth that much for everything else they're doing. So the people who are ignoring that will continue to ignore it, right? And they will not buy into Tesla. And the people who are buying into Tesla are not ignoring the energy part of the business. They're not ignoring full self-driving. They're not ignoring these things. So I think this discussion is already just annoying at this point. Like,
Well, that was one part of it, but more about some of the announcements that were a bit of a surprise. The first one was that they are in talks with another automaker to license FSD. The word on the street is that it's Ford, and I can't see it being anybody else. It's probably Jim Farley. That was a big news. The other news was that for 1 quarter,
I bet you it's Stellantis. That's what I
or
wrote.
Lucid Motors.
No, it's Stellantis. I don't think it's Ford. Ford has Blue Cruise, which is pretty good, actually. So, and they're improving that, unless they just give up on Blue Cruise.
We'll see. I believe it would be Ford because they were the first ones on the supercharging thing. But we'll see. I thought the same thing too. Like, how would they compete with it? But if they know how good Tesla's FSD is, that first mover advantage, right? It would help move some vehicles, especially the F-150 Lightning. If the Cybertruck's coming out, it just seemed to make sense. That was the first bit of news. The second bit of big news was that for 1 quarter only, Q3, they'll allow people that have FSD grandfathered in other vehicles to transfer them to other vehicles. And we got some clarity on it today, meaning that if you had a 2019 Model 3 with FSD and you want to get, say, I don't know, a Model S now, they'll move your FSD to that, but they'll remove it from the previous vehicle. So it's not like you can give that one to your
Okay, so this is sort of stupid. So only quarter 3. So you need to buy a car in quarter 3. But if you buy it in quarter 4, you can't transfer it. It's too late for you.
But this was also on the heels of him saying that they're going to be doing worldwide factory shutdowns for a small period of time to do upgrades, presumably to set up the next gen vehicle and to prep Cybertruck ramp at Texas. So at least my thinking, my speculation is that could get some people out of, they could get some churn when they're not going to be able to sell newer vehicles because they're not going to be producing as many. He said there's going to be a production hit in Q3.
Right.
And
so he's trying to pump the numbers.
Right. You pump the numbers up because you can actually buy those cars back, resell those, and then sell the
It's kind of a dick move, to be honest, because look, if you bought full self-driving, mean you didn't buy it, but let's say you bought it and you were upgrading your car, shouldn't you be able to take your software license to the next car? Like it's a piece of software.
I believe that. This is one of the things like people ask me, do you ever disagree with Elon on anything? I fundamentally disagree. I'm from a time when you would buy the Photoshop CD and we were paying $2,000 for this install disc, and fuck you telling me I can't install it on as many computers as I want right now.
And granted, the same computer.
Yeah,
it's the same.
Yeah, but if you want computer. If my computer shit the bed and I upgrade to a new laptop, I should be able to go and install the software on it.
You guys should be happy as Tesla shareholders. You have to keep buying it over and over again.
But the thing is,
that's not good. That's not good for people who invested in full self-driving 5 years ago. I mean, they got a good price, whatever, but they still don't have full self-driving.
Sucks to be them. You know, it's business, baby. That's how the iPhone works.
No, so what happens? They can never buy a new car again. Like it's
no, you can, but you have to pay for the whole fucking service. It's a new
car. So now they were early adopters. They funded Tesla making full self-driving because they were buying it and paying the $5,000.
If you bought the iPhone 3G, you're not supposed to pay full price for the iPhone 14 now.
No, it's different. You're talking about hardware versus software.
Different.
It's different. If you installed Windows or Mac OS on your computer and you bought a new Windows or a new Mac, you can use the same disk. That's the way it used to be, at least. Obviously, people are trying to change it all.
You can buy like the Adobe suite outright.
He's like, what are discs? What are CDs?
Yeah, but no, I get it. But you would have to buy a new disc because there would be a new software associated with a new piece of hardware. That's how I think of it.
The thing is, isn't FSD continuously improving? So aren't you technically paying for a more improved product?
That's true.
Well,
with Adobe to the old hardware. Can you get the update?
Yes, you can.
With your Adobe license that you bought with that CD, that's the version that you're going to have for the rest of your life. You're not going to get new updates. You're not going to get new
well, they actually did update it, by the way,
until the new version. You'll get incremental updates like bug fixes and security fixes. And this is an argument I was having with one of these fucking Tesla trolls he's like, I can talk a lot of shit about Tesla because I have a lot of shares kind of guy. Meanwhile, he's shorting it. And his whole thing was, well, then if you're going to do that, then they should never be able to get any upgrades to anything. I'm like, okay, it's a little different. Your Windows key versus software that's driving a car. Like, this is a matter of public safety. If there's improved software, they have to be able to upgrade the core software of it because the people's lives are in danger. These people greedy as fuck, man.
Well, so the issue is, like, let's say I bought full self-driving 5 years ago. I paid $5,000 or whatever it was, $2,500. So I got a great deal. I still really don't have the full version of full self-driving. And then it comes out, and then Elon says, well, you need hardware 4 or 5 or 6 for it. And then you're like, man, I funded the whole fucking thing with you, and all of a sudden I can't even use it.
Business is business, baby.
No, the hardware.
But then you need an upgrade path for those people, not just quarter 3 when I need to pump the numbers. So you need to say, look, okay, fine, upgrade. It's going to cost you not $15,000, it's going to be $7,500 because you're a long time. It has to be something like that.
The hardware 3, hardware 4 thing is to do with fidelity. It's not necessarily means that a hardware 3 car is going to be worse.
They're installing the sensors now or cameras in the actual front of the car. So even my Tesla doesn't have that camera right in the front bumper, which they might need. There is a discussion. They might need that for full self-driving to work. I don't know yet, to see around corners and all that, right?
Well, that's also it's more training data for them, right? It's about giving them better and higher fidelity data for the inference engine.
Yeah, but you see my point, that if there's now new hardware, there's more cameras, and then we don't have that, then it's like, well, we're not going to get the...
I think the biggest positive that I saw, and it's something that I spoke about last time when we spoke about this before earnings, was I want to see their growth in their energy segment, because that thing is just growing like gangbusters, man. Look at this. Look at the install capacity last year and look at it now. Imagine this happening over and over on a CAGR basis for the next 5 to 10 years. It could end up rivaling their auto business, and a lot of people aren't even necessarily talking about it.
He said it before. He said it before, that the energy business will probably be larger than the vehicle business, and then the bot business will dwarf that.
So it's you're with Tesla, you're buying a conglomerate. This is no longer just like anyone who's valuing this company just like a automaker is completely lost. Like this is not an automaker. This is an industrial conglomerate that has its hands in so many cookie jars that like they just have. The other thing also is that when you think about it, you're limiting the amount of total TAM if you're only doing cars, because there's only a certain amount of cars that are going to be sold. Even if you do multiple categories, there's still going to be like a natural amount of things that come around. This guy is smart and saying, look, we're going to have multiple streams of income coming in, whether it's charging stations providing us revenue, whether it's this energy storage business providing us revenue, whether it's like, what is that thing called? Like service center revenue from repairing the Tesla cars. So this company is no longer just, hey, we're going to sell hardware. This is like, we're going to sell hardware, we're going to sell software, we're going to sell fucking everything that's even connected to that stupid car. And then the solar part of it, I mean, the solar thing is their biggest weakness. And I don't know what they're going to do to fix that. Maybe they should buy Enphase. I don't know, because it's only $20 billion. That's like a fucking drop in the bucket for them.
That would hurt me.
Elon has a fundamental issue with Enphase's business model. He doesn't believe in the microinverters. He believes in a single inverter system.
Really? He doesn't believe in microinverters?
Well, because it's cheaper. It's cheaper to do string inverters, so he's doing that.
My theory, I'll tell you what my theory is. My theory is it's like we said yesterday. Elon does not see a differentiation between his companies. This is my other point, Vitaly. I'll just mention it now and then we'll circle back to it. Another big announcement was he was saying that working with Neuralink, they can take pieces of the bot and put them on amputees. So once they get like the legs of the bot working, they could say take a soldier that had his legs blown off using a Neuralink implant that he would be able to walk again. Or they could give people use of their arm. That's the first thing. But that led us to a conversation yesterday about the fact that in Elon's brain, these companies are not separate. Even though they're divided by different ticker symbols, right? They're really all one thing working together. My thing, Chris, is the solar play for Tesla is really more about Mars. If you ask me, that's what I think it is. And I think the reason why he's for the single inverter system is because just in terms of weight, trying to get weight and get solar deployed on Mars, it'll be cheaper weight-wise, sending starships to send one inverter than it would be. Even though there's a single point of failure, you could probably send 2 or 3 inverters for the same weight that you would send all these solar panels, right? And then with the conditions on Mars, I think it would be better. So that's just my thinking. No, there's nothing to back this up, but I'm thinking that a lot of it is thinking long-term. Even the Cybertruck, I think a big part of the reason why the Cybertruck is the way it is for Mars. It's going to be the first vehicle, I think, on the moon. They'll send the Cybertruck up there.
One last thing I just want to quickly share with you guys. I shared it with the Patreon folk. Let me just share it with you guys.
There's always one last thing.
I have one last thing after Chris's one last thing.
Our fucking one last thing.
You know what? I have one last thing after amidst one last.
Well, no, my point was to say that to Vitaly because I don't know if you heard that.
I didn't hear that. No.
There was a post earlier today about like Tesla working with NVIDIA AI hardware, right? Yeah. And the other thing is Tesla is actually a really big AI company. Like a lot of people are underestimating.
Exaflops, dude, 100 exaflops by next year. That is a ridiculous amount of fucking compute power.
Yeah. And so one of the things that came up was like, hey, what does this mean for NVIDIA? And Elon actually responded and said, like, unfortunately, they can't supply us with even a fraction of how much compute we need. I think that's complete bullshit. I think NVIDIA could do it, but Elon is not in the habit of giving up margin. He's like, I am not going to be beholden to NVIDIA to provide me for the success of my business. There's so many times where businesses get burned by their counterparties because of shit like that, where they're so overly reliant on somebody else. Elon has always been ahead of his time when it comes to that and says, no, we're going to build this shit ourselves. If I have to put some money towards it, I'll put it towards it. But AI, in terms of AI, and I'm sure one day we can get Rango on here to like really give us a little bit more. He can't talk to us 100% about it, but also Tesla is an AI company, which is, so how many fucking verticals does this company have? Diversified. So
tequila too?
Right, they do tequila, and apparel, shorts.
Yeah. Shorts.
Yeah.
All right, I got one quick last thing I want to get your thoughts on. So you guys don't even have to look into charts, anything like that. Just want to get your quick take on this.
It's going to zero. If you're back at, it's going to fucking zero. Buying puts.
No, it's not about a stock. Well, it's not. I'm not buying the stock. But the guy who wrote the short report on Palantir, the Bear Cave, they were teasing their next short. Okay, they put it out today.
Enovix.
Did you know this?
Is it Enovix?
No.
No.
Okay.
And
they are shorting this company because of Mr. Beast.
All right.
That is the punchline.
Hershey's.
Beast
Hershey's.
Burger.
They are shorting
Hershey's.
Hershey's because the thesis is Mr. Beast is gonna eat their lunch. That is the thesis.
Oh,
What
God.
is your response to that?
Oh,
That's
my
it. I
God.
said, oh God. That's
When
the-
you've run out of things to short, I guess, right?
Bro, when I saw this today, I was like,
Pull up an
like,
article or something.
That's
No,
idiotic.
I obviously the Palantir stuff is whatever, and like I don't hate the guy or anything.
What is
like
their
that, but
market cap? What is their market cap?
Oh,
selling it off?
Damn,
$50
Hershey's doing
billion.
good.
$50 billion. Jeez.
He's calling Palantir fake AI.
Jesus
He's saying
Christ.
Mr. Beast. Like my
Does Warren Buffett own Hershey's or no? That's somebody else.
No, Buffett doesn't own Hershey's.
He
I
owns
don't know
See's
if any of the
Candy.
big guys
He
own
owns See's
Hershey's.
Candy. I'm not sure how it's connected to.
My thing was like, bro, what if YouTube's algorithm changes? What if Mr. Beast is just not as big as he was, right now? What if he doesn't care about chocolate anymore? What if he starts selling gummies like what he's doing now? You're telling me Reese's, fucking Kit Kat, Hershey's, Kisses, they own Skinny Pop.
My only thing, my absolute Achilles heel are the York peppermint patties, bro. I could eat 100 of those. I am addicted to them. That's just
Yeah, I
good
mean,
bar,
Hershey's
almond
has
joy.
so many great brands. This is a silly.
but the chocolate's kind of shitty. I mean, let's be honest. It's just.
I mean, I love Hershey's. I love it. But I'm like, bro, Mr. Beast is your
No,
due
no.
diligence. This is a report that goes out to thousands of investors. He's saying short a $50 billion company because
Mhm.
Mr. Beast's YouTube videos are going to outsell Hershey's with one of the most complex supply chains on the planet. Like chocolate's not easy. A lot of that shit's in Brazil. It's really hard to meet the demand that Hershey's has.
But that's the point. The point is, Mr. Beast gets. You know how many? Do you know that Mr. Beast gets more views internationally than he does even in the U.S.?
I'm not denying
all of
Mr.
his
Beast
videos.
is phenomenal.
So
but I don't think it
and
puts
he
it
does like the
in Hershey's.
Netflix style dubbing where it's dubbed to. He gets hires
agree.
actors. Like it's a legit operation. All of his shit. So you're telling me that like the next generation, the upcoming generation, the people that watch Mr. Beast aren't going. And he's also a master, an absolute master of working in his.
I agree.
advertising.
All that's true. But if you're gonna short a company, his thesis is like Mr. Beast is gonna like what? It's 50 billion. Mr. Beast is gonna take what 10, 15 billion off the market cap of Hershey's. That's what you're saying? I just
No, it's silly.
Wait,
So-
Feastables is. Have you guys?
I ain't
ever
giving
had
up my Kit Kats
Feastables?
for Mr. Beast.
I've never even
bars.
had a
my,
piece of
my peppermint patties. You're not going.
I've never.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen one of those things.
I haven't.
Wait, how am I supposed to make a s'more without a Hershey's milk chocolate candy bar? Like,
You
are
have to
you
eat
crazy?
these nuts. You have to eat
They'll
these
be-
nuts.
Yeah.
That's
So,
what
okay,
the-
so then
that's
on-
what the
on
thing
the-
is called. That's what it's called. Feastables.
On that note, you're giving.
Oh, wait, what is it called? On these
It's
nuts?
called these nuts. That's what
These
it's called.
nuts. These
Yeah,
nuts.
I could see a parent buying it for the kid. Here,
Yeah, like
these
on,
nuts.
on Halloween, right? They come up to your house. More D's nuts, please.
Oh my god.
So, all right, you have
That's
$100,000,
hilarious.
and you have to short a company for in a 6-month time frame. What do you short?
TFC.
He's
we
like,
changed our
"Good
stance.
luck, ETF."
Good luck.
Yeah. I've
Good
never
luck.
bought puts before, but I'm buying puts.
I'm buying puts on my spreads. I'm gonna lose, but
You
I'm
are
going
good.
down.
Yo,
I'm
I
gonna
gotta
kill
protect the
myself.
downside now. I gotta protect it.
So if I had $100,000 of magic money,
Magic
where
money,
it-
free money.
where
You gotta
what
make
makes Nvidia.
Me too. That's what I was gonna say. I shouldn't.
Really? You got?
I would
Only
say
because-
Nvidia.
No.
I would never
no,
short
not
Nvidia,
Nvidia.
but it seems like
If I
Okay,
if I
okay,
had
so
magic,
then
if
not
anyone needs a
Nvidia.
pullback, it's Nvidia. Okay?
Right,
If
it's-
anyone
it's
He
the
needs
idea
to
of
pull
that.
back, but I wouldn't dare short that motherfucker.
No.
That-
But it's $100,000.
I would never short it with my own money.
Yeah, I
I'll short
wouldn't
it with
do
your
that.
money. I'll
Right,
I'll
I'll
never short it
take
with my own.
I'll take your portfolio.
I would short.
Palantir.
Palantir. We won't.
No, he's gonna say Snowflake. Watch, he's gonna be like, "Fuck
No,
Snowflake."
Snowflake's
And then
actually doing well, bro. They're doing fine.
Dude, if you wanted to, you could crush Snowflake. If you started putting out hit pieces on them with your reach and extent, you'd be like, "Yo,
No, bro. I don't have the reach for fighting. Snowflake's a big ass company. I don't.
You'd be able to do it.
What stock? Oh, I was gonna say Carvana, but no, I think Carvana might actually. I don't think there's a
See,
stock I would
that's
short right now.
not a bad idea. Carvana's not a bad idea.
No, shorting in
You
general
start
is a very bad idea. But
But
Oh,
that's the idea. It's like you have to bet against someone.
Play
to-
money.
What do you think? It's play money.
We got to pick a stock. We got to pick a stock. You said
Nvidia,
Nvidia.
I agree. I would take the risk with somebody else's money.
Yeah. SoFi, no. Who's what are they saying? CVNA. What is that? What's CVNA? Oh, Carvana. Yeah.
Carvana.
Carvana's run up a bunch, 100%.
I don't know the company, man. I
6
don't know.
months.
I don't know.
SoFi, I wouldn't short SoFi.
Upstart.
Apple, no.
Right,
Who said
Upstart.
Apple?
I
No,
knew
you're-
that was gonna come out. I knew that was gonna come out.
I have a friend who.
I was
works
holding
at
it in.
Upstart.
I was holding that in.
I said it for everybody. I said it for everybody.
Oh yeah, no, that's gonna get clipped. We'll be tagged on that.
All right.
Puts into the short. All right, guys, that was awesome. This is the end of.
I mean,
end
you
of
couldn't
a
come
good
up
week.
with a single one.
What company
Come
would I
on.
actually short?
Yes.
I really. I mean, if I
Yeah.
had
You have to
Nvidia,
do it. You have to do it. You have
I
to
guess
put money
Nvidia.
in.
But I really can't think of a company that's
You know what?
deserving of-
Tess got it. Tess actually got the right one.
I don't think
C3
you, no,
fucking
no, I don't
AI.
think you can short C3 AI. I don't think you can.
Nah, fuck
Well,
that,
of
dude.
course
That
you can.
bullshit
The ticker
AI,
symbol is
bro.
carrying them to the moon, bro.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, C3AI is a good option for shorting.
Because the thing is, if you short Nvidia, then the whole market's falling. But if you short a stock that's not Nvidia and Nvidia does well, that
Yeah, but your
stock's
short
gonna do
doesn't
well.
necessarily mean it's going to happen, dude. It's just saying you're betting on which
Yeah.
company is going to be
Yeah.
needs a pullback and which company our market's going to punish disproportionately.
Look,
The
look,
first company that started this was Nvidia. I wouldn't
Disney.
short Enphase right now. I wouldn't short Enphase. Although I do think TJ, if you're watching, you might see your 150. Fed. If the
well,
Fed
150
reports
would be amazing.
if
That'd
the
be
Fed
amazing.
reports a rate hike, like Chris thinks next Wednesday, and then Enphase misses any fucking number, it goes right to 250, right to 150.
I'm still waiting for the miss. I don't mind a miss because, like, if this is a true long-term play for us, I think Carlos is also invested in this.
Yeah, yeah.
Then,
I'll jump in if we get actually doing.
Well, my point is,
I don't have
like,
the cash, but if I
I
get
you
got
have
some
to-
money with TFC,
Hold on, hold on.
baby.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
selling. I'll get into some.
I got one
Enphase.
last thing, Chris. Okay, not you. Okay.
All
I
right,
want to
so
hear another
the
last
one
thing.
last thing segment is over 50% of the fucking show.
bro, we said one last thing, 40 minutes.
It's
40 minutes.
important. It's important to know that when great stocks crumble, it's not because the company's bad. It's because something in the environment is bad.
Yeah.
And if that happens, it's important to buy that stock, whatever it is. I'm not talking about Enphase in particular. And we did that with Meta, of course, and we talk about that all the time now. But it's similar things. If Enphase does something stupid, or Tesla does something stupid, or Google or Amazon do something stupid, of course I'm there.
Okay,
I gotta
do
look-
have
I gotta
one
look up-
actual
I gotta
last
look
thing.
No, fuck you.
This is gonna be really quick. Amit, everyone's saying in the chat, private bank bought 15% of Palantir shares. Julius Baer, 306 million shares, 4 billion. I know I'm not allowed to talk about Palantir on this podcast, so tomorrow I'll have a YouTube video talking about this news. It's very big news. They increased their ownership percentage by 100,000%. It's insane. So we'll talk about it tomorrow in a video.
Bro, Enphase's short interest is 6%.
That's a lot.
It's nothing.
That's
It's nothing,
fucking
right?
nothing,
That's a
dude.
lot for Enphase, I think.
You guys talk about Fed now? No, so what do we got to talk about
We
Fed
did
now?
already.
Nope,
did.
nope. All right.
We did.
See you guys later.
We did. All right, guys. I'll see
All right,
you
everybody.
later.
We'll see you guys next week, 7
Sunday.
p.m.
Sunday.
Saturday will still be 10 p.m. Sunday, 10 p.m.
No,
Still
Sunday,
normal.
actually.
Sunday, 10 p.m. Monday, 7 p.m. And we'll see you then.
All right, bye.
Have a
Yeah.
good weekend, everybody. Bye-bye.
Later, guys.